Coruscant to Tatooine, and every planet in between. Star Wars, prototypes and production, with your host, David Quinn.
It's a trap!
Yes, master.
Whoa, we're gonna have company!
Have to stand and fight.
The more you tighten your grip, darling, the more star systems will slip through your fingers.
I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
The Force will be with you, always.
Hello from glorious Tatooine. I know it's been a while, and so I wanted to just publish a very short episode just to say that the podcast is returning. I've missed you. I've missed doing this. I've missed connecting with different collectors for the podcast, and I look forward to doing more of that. I went through a season, probably, over the last maybe 8 or 9 months. And to be honest, things were tough at times, and the needs of my family and their health and situations around me really needed my focus and my attention. And as a result, I really needed to put my focus into all of that, and I barely had any for myself. And so now that I've kind of stretched out of that season and I've come out of it stronger and now more focused, where I'm able to devote time to building up my life and returning to things, creative endeavors like the podcast and other large projects that I'm working on. I've come back full force for the podcast. I'm really excited about it. And this month is very special. As you can tell, they have birds here on Tatooine, I guess. I'm actually in the middle of a bike ride. So last year, I ended the year crossing the 3,000-mile mark. And I hope to do that again. I'm currently at 650 miles for the year now. As I said before, though, I did go through a little bit of a writer's block, a wall with the podcast. And because I couldn't do it consistently and I couldn't really focus on it, it kind of went to the back of the line as far as priorities. And I was missing it, but I couldn't find a way into it. And over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been able to focus more on my life and get back into these endeavors. And so I've come back in a major way. I've been working on various episodes of the podcast. And as I said, this is a very special month because at the end of April, we are going to be going to Rogue Fun. Over 200 collectors are going to be there in Georgia. And I really wanted to highlight how magical of an experience and a weekend it is for Star Wars fans and collectors. The Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors is putting on the event. They have a lot of special stuff planned and some good surprises, and it's just going to be one of those very connective times. We have a lot of people who went to the first one returning. This one is much larger, so there will be many more people there and many more people able to attend. The crew has planned some really big activities for us, things that I can't wait to do, and I can't wait to do with other collectors and other friends. And we have people who are coming for the very first time. People who weren't able to come to the first Rogue Fun event, and also people who have never been to a collector's event before, and who are pretty prominent and active within our community. So I'm looking forward to meeting everybody, to reconnecting with everybody, to doing meals and activities with them, and just to see where the weekend takes all of us. So that is what's coming up at the end of the month. But between now and then, I have a number of podcast episodes. A lot of them are going to center around Rogue Fun. I'd like to revisit the first one and what made it so connective and so magical. And then I also want to preview the itinerary for what we can expect at Rogue Fun 2. And I'm going to have the help of some great friends for that. And then eventually I will be covering the Rogue Fun 2 event as well. There are going to be some amazing room sales there. We have modern prototype collectors and vintage prototype collectors and vintage everything collectors. Kenner items, posters, anything you can think of. And so we're going to have a major room sales the Saturday night of the event. We have 4 panels that we're going to be seeing. I believe it's 4, including some. Oh, we have. There is I believe it's a goose. There's some kind of bird right above me, but so we're going to have some major panels covering everything from the origins of Star Wars and the filming of it to the making of some of the creatures from the cantina, as well as Yoda, to some of the biggest collectors in the world talking about what it's like to be a Star Wars collector, and as well as their journey. And we have a special visit to the Center for Puppetry Arts in Atlanta, which houses some of the greatest Muppets and puppets of all time that we grew up with. We get to do all of this together as a group of over 200 of us. 200 of the most passionate, exciting collectors. The swag that people are producing is next level. This is something really special. So I'm going to be covering that. I do want to take a moment and thank everyone who reached out to me over the last few months. I had friends contact me, and people I didn't even know contact me and say, hey, I just want to make sure you're okay. I haven't seen the podcast in a little while. And honestly, I wanted to do it. For some reason, there was just a writer's block, and I think I was so focused and concerned with other issues going on in my life and around my family that I just couldn't do it. And earlier this month, or probably in March, that dam started to break, and I've been back to my creative self. I've been producing podcast episodes, other creative projects, swag, a huge project that I'm working on as well, and some more items like that and areas that I'm exploring, all in the name of Star Wars, which is a beautiful thing. But I want to thank everyone who reached out, and just the notes and the phone calls were really encouraging. And I really want to get back to being a voice in the community, not to be a voice itself, but to be able to connect others to this passion that we all have and to this community that we have. I want to be able to highlight the other collectors in our community and people who are doing really special things. And that's why I keep highlighting the Georgia crew, because this Rogue Fun event is unlike anything else that I've really ever attended. I mean, we've had the ICE events, which are the international collector events. We've had meetups at people's homes, bigger ones like Sithmas and FonsCon, and then we have wonderful collectors in the hobby. So many people who contribute to the Star Wars Collectors Archive site, and people who contribute in the groups, in the Facebook groups and online, and just help to inform collectors, to educate collectors, to connect collectors. I really want to work to make that more of a thing, and to really, a lot of times our hobby can be very transactional, in some ways very kind of self-focused, promotion-focused, self-centered, financial gains, things like that. And I really want to move away from that. I really want us to lean more into what made this hobby and this community such a draw in the first place. And it wasn't to sell items or to make money or to make a name for yourself. It was really to connect with other people who were as touched by you, or as touched as you by the films and the action figures and the toys and ephemera of our youth. So I really want to highlight that. I want to get us back to that energy and that passion that we have for this franchise, especially now as we're entering a new era, led by Dave Filoni, now as he stepped into the role of president, and I believe it's co-CCO, Chief Creative Officer of Lucasfilm. And so I think there's a lot waiting for us. We're also heading into the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, and that's something that I think most of us never imagined we'd see, but always imagined that, it would be there because Star Wars would be forever. And I think, it's due to a lot of us, to our fandom, and to really keeping this franchise thriving and growing. And the stuff that we've done within the hobby has been so connective and so special. And so I think we have a lot waiting for us. I think we have a lot to explore together. I can't wait to do so. And so I just wanted to drop this note before I release the next series of episodes. But we have a lot coming. I hope you'll join me. And I thank you for sticking around and for exploring. While I've been on this hiatus as well, too, I recently looked at the numbers for the podcast, and they have been growing in ways that I just couldn't imagine. And so it tells me that there's still a desire for this, which is wonderful, that it hasn't died down at all, and that the fandom is still there, and that people still want to connect, especially through something like a podcast. And I've been just, stretching my creative muscles, trying to come up with some inventive and exciting things. I have something so special for all of you. There's a group of us that put together a very special piece of swag for Rogue Fun, and during that weekend, we're going to unveil a special version of it that you will hear on this podcast. So I look forward to dropping those episodes. I think that's really exciting, and I know people worked really hard to make it something kind of magical and to harken back to what the original trilogy did for many of us and what the prequels did for the next generation. So we have a lot to look forward to. Again, I apologize for taking some time for a while, but I hope you'll continue to walk with me as we go through this wonderful adventure called Star Wars. And I think we're going to have some really special episodes coming up. So I will see you in the next one. It'll be coming out very shortly. Hello from day 2, from a warmer but windier day. So I'm going to try to block out some of the wind here, but I'm on another bike ride, and it's funny, it was, I think 2 days ago, there was a freeze watch and a freeze warning here and in the Northeast, and it was, the temperature was below 30 degrees in the morning. And now today it's 70 degrees, and I'm in a long sleeve t-shirt and shorts, and I'm riding. So yesterday it was colder. I had to wear, I think, a base layer and a jacket and gloves and a hat. But this is a much nicer day, so I'm happy to have this. I wanted to ride heading into the weekend, and I use this time also to start to plan episodes and other projects that I'm working on. So, but I want to mention a few things. First of all, I checked the podcast numbers, and I found out that there's been an explosion of listeners based in Mexico. So I wanted to say hello to you, and I wanted to thank you for giving this podcast a listen and checking it out. It's really amazing, really special. And I hope it's enjoyable for you. And then also I wanted to mention, too, that I'm doing a series on the first Rogue Fun. So those will be the next episodes, and they'll be coming out tomorrow, starting with the first one. And the fourth episode in the series is one that I've never released before, and that is the Sunday of the event. And so you're going to hear never before heard audio from that Sunday. And we, as a group, we did a Kessel run of 3 collectors' homes, and so you'll be hearing some audio footage from there, as well as some of the experiences and people talking about their experiences at Rogue Fun on that day. So I'm happy to release that. I think that's going to be a nice way to cap off that first Rogue Fun experience, and hopefully you'll hear it and it will either make you want to come to the second event, or you'll have your ticket purchased already for the second event, which is happening at the end of April, and that you'll be even more excited, to attend and to see all of our friends, or it'll be something that will turn you on to the community and the hobby at large, and what to expect from an experience like that. So that's my hope for it, and I think it'll be pretty special. And finally, I just wanted to say that I'm really thrilled to have these moments and these meetups like this. I'm looking forward to seeing so many different people down in Georgia. Again, we're also going to have some pretty amazing room sales and some pretty amazing activities. And so I have some other stuff planned as well for April and for May, some other episodes. I spoke with a dear collector friend today, and we've done a series of episodes. So it's Ron Salvatore, and we've done a series of episodes over the years, and we usually like to end the year by doing a special series looking back on some of the articles that he published and just to talk about certain areas of collecting. We didn't get to do that this year. Both of us were dealing with family and health issues, and so I reconnected with him about it recently, and today, and we decided that we're going to do some. So that'll be something to look forward to in May as well, and then I have some other fun surprises for you. I guess one more thing I wanted to cover, just to close out this episode, is that I know that a number of our friends have been going through some tough stuff lately, and a number of them have mentioned that they are feeling disconnected from the community or from the hobby. I honestly think part of that is that the hobby's become so transactional in so many ways, or that it's just fractured. And I think we have a real opportunity to reclaim it, to bring it back, and to make it as special as it's always been. And I think, if you are feeling disconnected, one of the best things you can do would be to go to a toy show, to go to a local club meetup in your area. If there is a Star Wars Collectors Club, to become a part of it, to volunteer to work on some sort of project or something within the hobby, whether it's something like the Star Wars Collectors Archive website, writing articles or, filling in entries for the site, or being active in the social media groups about collecting, and more than just putting an item up for sale and selling something. I think we've just seen so much of that, and so many promotional materials for auction houses and things like that, where we've really let people like that, as well as the auction houses, take over our community and our hobby. And it works great if you're profiting from it, but I mean that's really honestly it. I think so much of what's been so special are the friendships and these moments where we can connect in person and online. And I think if you're feeling disconnected, it's probably a chunk of it could really be that you are disconnected. If you're isolated from this group and from the community and from these in-person events, there's so much that's happening there that is so connective. And I just hope that you'd be able to be a part of that. And I know it's changed my life, and it's made those are really the moments that when I reflect on my time as a collector and my journey collecting, like that's really what I care about more than any sort of item or any other sort of moment. And so if you are feeling a little disconnected, get involved. Use your opportunity. Use your knowledge about a certain area of the hobby, and put it down in writing or on a podcast or on a YouTube channel, or anything where you can share with others. You'd be amazed by, again, how connective it is. I know I use that word a lot, but I think that's really the most important thing. That human connection, that human element, that's what in some ways drove us. I mean, if you think back to when you were in school, when either the original trilogy or the prequels or even the Clone Wars, Rebels, the sequel trilogy was coming out, those were moments that we discussed on the playground and in the cafeteria and when we were hanging out, and we pretended to be, Luke Skywalker and Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka Tano and Rex and all the other characters that we've fallen in love with over the years and that we really looked up to as our heroes. And but we did it together in a lot of ways. Those memories are always there through our family members and our friends, and we have an opportunity as adults to really connect with one another in a meaningful way, in a creative way, again, some of these projects that I'm working on right now are some of my favorite ones that I've ever done in the hobby, and they're with others, and that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to be able to pick up a phone and to talk to friends and to plan an idea or something constructive, and then to meet in person as well too. And I know that some of you may not be able to do that because of either where you live or how close you are to other collectors at certain events, and I totally get that. But if you're able to come out to something like Rogue Fun 2, at the end of April, or one of these collector shows or a convention, really dive deeply into it, because everyone I've spoken to who's done that, who's gotten heavily into the swag or into things like prototype collecting, poster collecting, and contributing in a way, or just making an event special for other people, the end result has always been that it's been deeply rewarding, and that's a wonderful thing. So again, I'm always going to preach that. I think that is a blessing, and I think we have the ability to serve others and to make others' lives a little brighter in some special ways, and a lot of that is through connecting. So if you're able to come out and to be a part of something, please do. If you're able to schedule some time into any sort of event, please do that. I think you'd really find it incredibly rewarding. So anyway, I look forward to hopefully meeting you in person, reconnecting with you in person at some point, reconnecting with you even online or on the phone. And I just, again, this is the beginning of Season 8, and I think we're set for a ton of adventures for the upcoming months here on Star Wars, Prototypes and Production.